Video, we are going to take a close look at the Super Console Arcade. Or I think they forgot the X, but in the end, like, this is one of those Super Console X lineup products, and this thing is in the form factor of an arcade stick. I think it's similar to the Pandora Box Jungle that we have seen before, but it's still slightly different when it comes to the hardware and the software. So basically what you're going to get is a hybrid device, because we do have like the option to use this thing actually like just an arcade stick, or we can use it like a game machine. Let's open it up. You know, when I'm seeing this product, I'm getting an 8-bit vibe to it. So we're going to get ourselves the HDMI cable, Type-C, an adapter. Let's see what it is. It's a 12 watts, 12 volt, what the hell? Quite interesting. Bubble wrap, woohoo! Then we're going to get ourselves a converter from the Type-C to a normal USB. And in here we're going to get ourselves the arcade stick. And not to forget, we're also going to get ourselves an explanation how the stick works and a lot of information with the deluxe manual. There's no toilet paper today, so yeah, that's a good thing. So when you're looking at an arcade stick, and I think it's a pretty damn good build quality. So the first thing I've noticed, this thing got quite a nice weight to it. So with the weight with around 1.4 kilograms, so the stick is quite nice when it comes to the weight itself. But when you're holding it in your hand, it feels like a very robust plastic arcade stick, and you can use this thing actually like an arcade stick on your system. But of course this thing is a hybrid and it comes with a built-in main board, and we're also going to do a quick teardown later on in this video. I'm really curious like how this thing will play and how it will work out. So to begin with, let's talk about the configuration of the stick itself. I love it that they give you the option for 8 buttons, so if you're going to play, let's say, arcade or basically, let's say, PlayStation 1 games, you do have all the buttons there you're going to need. The button quality itself is quite nice, but first let's remove these things. Oh yeah. So when you're looking at the button quality, it's the same way we've seen with the Pandora's boxes. So when you press it, does got a very nice clickish feel to it, very long travel. At the top we're going to get 2 smaller buttons, and they got more like a cheaper click to it. But the joystick on the other hand, it feels like a slightly better quality than we have seen before. When we're looking at the Pandora's box, we're also going to get like the wiggle stick, but that's not the case over here. It's got a very nice touch to it, but don't compare this with like the premium sticks that we have like with real arcade sticks. And at the left top corner we're going to get ourselves the start and select home turbo mode. So basically we do have all the buttons over here for basically using every single game. Okay, so what are we going to get at the back itself? We're going to get ourselves an RJ45 Ethernet connection, the input for 12 volt, on and off switch, going to the Type-C connection, then we're going to get HDMI, and USB connection, and here we're even going to get an AV out. To be honest, I don't really know if this is going to be working because most of these Super Console X devices do have it, but don't have the option. And then we're going to get ourselves the CF slot over here, or the SD card. And they're selling this thing in different kind of editions. But this device runs on MU-ELEC. And that's basically what we're going to get with the same Super Console X devices. Yeah, and what you're going to get when it comes to the options, we do have a 64GB card, 128 and a 256GB. This is, if I'm saying it correctly, the biggest one. So as I'm making this video, there is no way finding really good information about the specifications. The only thing that I could find is in the manual says like is the S905 chipset, and it is basically quad-core Mali 450, has a signal output for 720p and 1080p, then software MU-ELEC 3.9, little bit of a bummer, so if it's really like the old chip that I've seen before, there's so far I know no way of upgrading it to a later edition. Besides that, we can also use it like an arcade stick on Android, PC, PS3, PS4 and Nintendo Switch. So when it comes to this Super Console X arcade stick, it's exactly the same stuff that I've seen before with the normal, say, Super Console X devices. The difference is we're going to get it in a different form factor, this time an arcade stick. But let's take a close look at the menu. Okay, so what you're going to get with the Super Console X stick is the same like with the first generation of Super Console X devices. We do have like a great support when it comes to 8-bit, 16-bit stuff. Like the really old stuff will run just fine, but I'm curious what we're going to get with like say the most recent systems. Think about PlayStation Portable and stuff like that. But unfortunate, it will run on 3.9, and the downside to that is that we don't have the support of many systems like Sega Saturn is nowhere to be found. And that's a little bit of a bummer, and we're still going to get the same basic boring layout, or boring. It looks okay, but I have seen some more fancier like layouts that we don't have with this. But let's take a close look at some other things and some gameplay. Okay, so let's jump into Atomic Wave with Demolition Fist, just to see how it will run on this GameGeek arcade console game stick. I'm curious like how this thing actually like runs it. I noticed with some of these systems we're going to get some mixed performance. Why is the guy jumping? And I'm pressing different button. Kind of weird. Alright, so let's take a close look at this game, because simply with the previous model we did have a lot of issues. Also depending like how they reconfigured everything. Okay, just started great. You can see already the glitching, a lot of problems with the sound and the slowdowns. It's still playable, but you can just hear that it struggles. I just want to point out, like at the first Dreamcast game I wanted to boot up, it went straight into the main menu and it doesn't like boot up at all when it comes to the games. And the reason I want to point this out is like this happens when you like having some issues with the Super Console stick. So it's not perfect, absolutely not perfect. But let's try another one. Alright, so next up let's try another game, and the reason I want to try this one, I just want to see how good the joystick actually is. Like the touch itself is very nice, what I mentioned before. But I just want to see like what is the end result when we're going to try some moves. I'm gonna take you for a ride. Alright, let's see. Let's see how they map the button. Alright, these are correct. Alright, so all the buttons are mapped okay. So the joystick itself is very responsive. So that I'm very satisfied about. Only need the buttons. It's a little something you get used to, but alright, so let's see what we can do with this game. See how the quality is when it comes to the emulation. Wow. So that looks kind of weird, or just maybe me. Of course he dodged it. Oh crap, we're pressing the wrong buttons, right? The wrong buttons. Oh yeah, clip now! Alright, next up, let's play another MAME game. And take consideration when it comes to MAME, don't think Killer Instinct will run on this. Like Mortal Kombat 1, 2, 3, that's more like the stuff that can run on this, but after that, it's over, you know. And of course, when you're playing some Killer Instinct, you will see stuff like this happen. Like, it absolutely runs like garbage. It just froze. Oh, alright, so let's try another one. Alright, so I thought the emulator itself was freaking, like, not working. But it seems to be like my full system is just crashed. Okay, just great. Let's reboot the thing and let's go on with the review. Alright, so let's try that again. Okay, so you already noticed like a lot of glitch going on. Again, it can be like a reconfiguration problem with emulator, but it is what it is. Ah, the game just runs like crap. But that's the thing with N64, like always the problem that we do have some issues sometimes. But that's the reason I just want to try another game. And it froze again. Okay, so that is something I'm not going to try again. Can I reset it? Nope, okay, it froze. Let's try a different game. You know, I'm getting to lose my patience over here. So the next game I want to try is Diddy Kong Racing. And guess what? We're going to get an error screen. Let's try another game. But of course, not everything is bad. So when it comes to Diddy Kong Racing, for example, take consideration some things just need to be reconfigured. But I just wanted to show you in this video how it is, like how I experience it. So we did find a game actually that works, so that's pretty cool. So let's try that game just to see if this is going to be playable. Okay, so I don't have any live bar, so they messed it up too. Or is it out of the screen? Or whatever, you know. But that's the problem with N64. It's always going to be an issue when it comes to, let's say, low-end devices. And if you're not going to use the right emulator, it's going to be sucky like that. Or like this. Okay, so I had some issues with the device itself because I couldn't navigate through the menu. You know, like the plus mode I'm having here, or better said, the D-pad mode. When you're pressing that button over here, you can activate it. And basically what you can do is fix the issue. And now we can navigate through the menu. Oh crap. Alright, so the button mapping of this thing is freaking garbage. Absolutely a nightmare. Like every single button is not on the position like it is. For example, I cannot pause the game by pressing start on my stick. So that are one of those things that we need to fix. It is possible to do. When pressing select, you can go into the menu over here. If you can navigate and press a certain button. Oh, here it is. So here it's set back at to OpenGL, and the frame skipping have even been set to 1. And it doesn't really run that great. Yeah, it does run with two-dimensional game, but guess if it's going to be three-dimensional games, it's going to be run like crap. Absolutely. Okay, so I just wanted to try out some Bloody Roar 2 on this device, and it is just capable of running it just fine without any hiccups. Especially when it's transforming into the beast mode, you will see some hiccups when the device is not powerful enough. So for PlayStation 1, I think this will be great. And it's something that we already seen before with the Super Console X devices in the past, up to PlayStation 1. But take consideration, these games will run in native resolution, not upscaled whatsoever. Okay, so let's try my first game I've ever played on the PlayStation 1. On this freaking stick, and playing a racing game with a stick is a completely new definition of playing racing games. It's playable, but it's kind of weird experience. But again, another PlayStation game runs just fine. I must say I've been messing around with it, and there were a couple of games that didn't even boot up. So again, like it's going to be a mixed, let's say mixed bag when you go and like try to boot up stuff. In the end, some, let's say, reconfiguring is required. Alright, so next up, play one of my favorite Sega CD games. And when it comes to this 8-bit, 16-bit stuff era, it runs on just fine, no? So when you're looking at the Pandora's box, you cannot really configure a lot of stuff. You need to get special programs that maybe can, let's say, modify or upgrade or unlock your Pandora's box. And with ME-Alec in combination with the stick, we do have a lot of options we cannot do with a Pandora's box itself. Controller configuration, stuff like that. You can even like pair a Bluetooth controller. You can do so many more stuff that we couldn't do with a Pandora's box. And that's what I do like about this. It does have a lot of potential. Okay friends, so it's time to do a teardown because I wanted to see how this thing is built and how it looks in the inside. Okay, so let's flip it upside down. Sadly, there are some freaking screws under the feet, so we need to remove all the rubbery feet. I'm not very glad with this, but okay, there is no way around it. Okay, I have some glue so I can glue them back on, so that's not going to be an issue. Man, these rubber pads are thick, look at that. Like, they did an amazing job with that. It gives a good grip on it, and of course I'm using a freaking yoga mat to film my videos, but the thing is... Time to go back to the gym. Alright, so let's take a close look with the screwdriver and let's remove all of the screws. Okay, I'm curious if there are only like freaking 6 screws holding this thing together. Oh yeah, wicked. Going great. Alright, all the screws are loose. Oh, we can let this thing staying over there. And let's see if we can lift it up. Or is there any movement? Oh, here there is. Oh, wait. I almost freaking destroyed this thing. I don't know how it's with you, but I was super curious like how this thing will look in the inside. Alright, so let's see how we can lift it up. We do have like unlimited movement when it comes to the cables. Okay, so let's talk about the upper part first. So with the top shelf, you do see like we can switch out the buttons fairly easy. Like you can just push them out over here. Let's see if we can push it out like very easy. Yeah, you can do that, but I'm going to leave this one in here. But it is made of like a, yeah, like very thick plastic. I don't know how strong it is if you're going to push out the buttons. But in the end, like we're going to get ourselves like the clone soundbar joystick. And let me see what kind of connector we're using. I'm using the cheap one. But in the end, like you can switch it out fairly easy. And here we're going to get the encoder board. And the encoder board also like is connected to the buttons over here. All right. Yeah, so about the weight. So the most of the weight is going to be created with this metal over here. So if you're going to remove it, it's going to be like the full plastic fantastic mode. Then we're going to get here a cable that goes to the encoder board. Everything has been hot glued fairly nice. And here we're going to get the, let's say, Android box that they're just using in the inside here. So this is basically where all the magic happens. They just hot glued this freaking cooling element on here. And this is basically what they're doing. And like this is the only cooling that it has. There was no way of basically getting better cooling. There was no fan, exhaust fan, nothing at all. So that's a little bit of a bummer. So when you can see over here, we have two cables that goes to the PCB or the encoder board. And it goes straight into the Android box over here. So it's clearly that they somehow try to communicate and connect the encoder board with the Android box over here. So that's basically what we're going to get. And I would not be surprised it's going to be exactly the same like Android box that you can find in your Super Console X or another version. So let's slide it out very carefully. Let's see if we can twist it. There's, by the way, the Wi-Fi antenna over here. Don't know if it's going to be working because it's partially it's going to be under the metal plate. So I don't know if it's going to be a great idea. And here you can see like they also solder the other connections over here. And they attached a lot of hot glue, so that is very good because it will give you like a very secure connection. But they hot glued it on here, but I can't get this bloody thing off. But there is no production date whatsoever I can find on the main board. Normally there's an indication in which year this thing has been made. But what I first also noticed with the first generation of Super Console X devices, they come with this green PCB, and that's not the case over here. And that's more like of the indication that it's not like a very old piece of tech. So I would not be surprised they're basically like using completely new PCBs for in these arcade sticks. The only downside is with mine over here, I can't get this bloody cooling off. I tried it, but they glued it on very sturdy, so there's no way of getting underneath it. But again, like it did show in the manual like what for specs we're going to get, but I just want to double check it. But when you're looking at the construction, it's a quite interesting way how they made this. And yeah, they cheated with the metal, so it's still a plastic fantastic stick. So this thing comes with a 256GB card. But what I don't like about this thing is that it comes without a brand. So back in the day they had like this, say it was SanDisk, but I would not be surprised there were fake ones. But in the end, like there is no fake one whatsoever. They're just like actually like non-brandless freaking SD cards. So I don't know if you can trust these things. Because I would not be surprised if they're going to be corrupted after some time. Because they're just bad quality. The Super Console X arcade stick. I must say that when you're looking at this piece of hardware, it has a lot of potential. Especially when you're looking at the case, the way how it plays. Of course, they did like cut down for the cost. Especially when you're looking at the buttons. The joystick itself works very well. I do like that to have inbuilt-in turbo button functionality to switch between, let's say, a virtual D-pad or analog stick. We have like a lot of modification options here. But sadly, when you're looking at the software, it's not finished at all. And it does have potential, but it still needs a lot of work. In my opinion, it feels like they rushed it to the market, and when you try to push something up, it do have like some issues here and there. But the thing is, like, if they like manage to get it right, get the right software on it, you do have like a lot of potential, and it's even maybe better than a Pandora's box, because MULEC will have more options when it comes to configurations and game support. Let me know in the comments what do you think of this. I want to thank you for watching, consider subscribing, hit that little bell to become a new Cat family, and I will see you in the next video.